I'm going to speak to you this afternoon about dreams. I've had many dreams that have come true, but before I start that, I'd like to read a quote from the writings of Baha'u'llah. This is from the Seven Valleys, from the Valley of Wonderment. Indeed, O brother, if we ponder each created thing, we shall witness a myriad perfect wisdoms and learn a myriad new and wondrous truths. One of the created phenomena is the dream. Behold how many secrets are deposited therein, how many wisdoms treasured up, how many worlds concealed. Observe how thou art asleep in a dwelling, and its doors are barred. On a sudden thou findest thyself in a far-off city, which thou enterest without moving thy feet or wearying thy body. Without using thine eyes thou seest, without taxing thine ears thou hearest, without a tongue thou speakest. And perchance, when 10 years are gone, thou wilt witness in the outer world the very things thou hast dreamed tonight. Now there are many wisdoms to ponder in the dream, which none but the people of this valley can comprehend in their true elements. First, what is this world, where without eye and ear and hand and tongue, a man puts all of these to use? Second, how is it that in the outer world thou seest today the effect of a dream when thou didst vision it in the world of sleep some 10 years past? Consider the difference between these two worlds and the mysteries which they conceal, that thou mayest attain to divine confirmations and heavenly discoveries, and enter the regions of holiness. God the Exalted hath placed those signs in men to the end that philosophers may not deny the mysteries of the life beyond, nor belittle that which hath been promised them. For some hold to reason, and deny whatever the reason comprehendeth not, and yet weak minds can never grasp the matters which we have related, but only the supreme divine intelligence can comprehend them. Now, my story is really one that starts in my childhood. I was the kind of child that didn't really trust adults, and therefore I didn't trust books, because adults wrote books and they could say whatever they wanted to say, and it was important to me as a child to know the truth. So I didn't read and I didn't investigate a lot of things firsthand. But what I did was I would write letters to God, and I would mail them in trees. I'd find a little nook or cranny and I'd put the letter in, and when I would look the next day it would be gone. Maybe some squirrel was using it for its nest. But anyway, I would then have a dream or some kind of message that I felt was an answer to that letter. So I grew reliant on my dreams at a very early age. And one of the dreams that I'd like to share with you today is how I became a member of the Baha'i faith. I was searching for a long time. After high school, I told my parents that they had given me the responsibility in the material world, and I wanted it in the spiritual world. I had been raised Catholic, but didn't feel like a Catholic. So I was telling my parents, I'm going to be responsible and find out who I am. So I would ride my bike out into the country and just ask God to guide me. And because of my relationship to books and to adults, I didn't really ask anybody. I didn't read anything. I didn't go to different churches and investigate. I just would ask God directly, please guide me. And I was very sincere about this search. So then I went to Europe with 2 friends, and while we were traveling for several months, I started having this dream, which repeated itself all through the trip. And the dream was of a building in my hometown, and I recognized the building, but all of a sudden this man would come into the building and he would say, whoever wants to learn about a New World religion, come into this room. And I, of course, was curious because of my search, so I would go into that room. And then the dream would sort of suspend itself. There was no action, no words, nothing to see, but it would just be like in this state of suspension. And then the dream would pick up with me coming out of the room, and I would be filled with this pure joy. There was no other emotion, just pure joy. And I would share this dream with my 2 traveling companions. And they got to know after a while when I had the dream, because I'd wake up and they'd look at me and they'd say, "You had that dream again, didn't you?" And apparently, from what they told me, I was just glowing. And I said to them, "I'm going to that house when we get back to the States, and I'm going to find out what is in there." So when I came back to the States, Vermont, I called this place, which was a group home for juvenile delinquents. It was a project of the University of Vermont. And I said, "I want to work at your group home." And they said, "Thank God," because their tutor had just quit, and they really needed somebody because these boys had a lot of problems, and there were 2 house parents, but they needed this 3rd adult. So I basically got the job right then and there over the phone, and part of that was I had been working and teaching in the whole county, so had a reputation, and they knew my name. So I started working the next day, and as you can imagine, it's a very stressful job, and the kids would pull knives and all kinds of things. So the house parents quit. I started in the spring, and by December they had it and they quit. So in January, 2 new house parents were hired, and the man was the man from my dream. And I recognized him. He looked exactly the same, and I thought, wow, this is this man from my dream, but because I didn't know them, I didn't say anything. And so then, after getting to know them, working with them, being with them, seeing their friends and how they treated each other, how they treated the children that we worked with, I was very impressed. And I said to them one day, "You people have something and I want it. What is it?" And they said, "We're Baha'is." And that didn't mean anything to me because I had no frame of reference. I had never read anything in the dream. It never said Baha'i. It just said New World religion. So I didn't really know what that meant. And I was a little hesitant to investigate because we lived together and worked together, and I didn't want to, jeopardize the friendship. So I didn't do anything at first, but then when they would leave the house, I would go into their living room and I would just look at all the books on their bookshelf. And I would see these names like Kitabi Akdas and Kitabi Gan, and I thought, what is this? And one day I noticed there was a book called God Loves Laughter. And I thought, well, I believe in God, I believe in love, I believe in laughter, I could read that book. So I had no idea it was even a Baha'i book. So I took that book and I read it, and of course I asked their permission and they said yes. But after reading that book, I felt, yes, the Baha'i faith is true. And I did join the Baha'i faith after that. Well, we continued working and living together, and a couple years later we were invited to a wedding. And the husband said, well, I don't have anything to wear to the wedding, I'm going to go out and buy some clothes. So he goes out and he comes back with this great big box, big huge box. Puts it on the table and his wife says, okay, let's see what you got. Now I hadn't said earlier, but in the dream this man always wore the same outfit. And I'd think, who is this person? Because nobody in Vermont dresses like this. He had on a navy blue cowboy silk shirt with red piping and white pearl buttons, an off-white linen pair of pants and jacket to match, cowboy boots, and his hair was always pulled back in a ponytail. So I knew he wasn't from Vermont, but I couldn't figure out where he was from. I'd never met him before. So anyway, he opens up the box. Here are those clothes. The navy blue silk cowboy shirt, the linen pants and jacket. So I looked at him and I said, oh, there they are. Because I had just assumed the clothes were incidental to the dream. So even though he fulfilled part of the dream, some months after I'd had the dream several times, the clothes didn't appear till 2 years later. So that's how I became a Baha'i.
Thank you so much. That was such fascinating.